So this is my presentation for welcome, settling and bonding with your new rescue. And we're going to cover Street Hearts dogs and who they are, equipment that you will want to use, what to do when you arrive home, introductions to people, dogs, things like that, walks, ways to bond with your dog, and at the end we will have a little Q&A session. So I've already told you, and hopefully that's all gone smoothly. We'll see. This is, do bear with me, as I said, this is my first go at this, so there may be some technical hiccups along the way. Thank you for your patience. So queue up the links, and please pop yourselves on mute until we go to question and answer session at the end. Okay, so straight in there, who are Street Hearts? Some of you may follow them on social media, some of you may have come to them through different ways, but a quick rundown is that they are they're founded by Emma and Anthony, who are expats, UK expats living in Bulgaria, but they're also helped by a crack team of staff and volunteers here and in Bulgaria. They have and have always had an emphasis on neutering and education in the community to help prevent the problem of unwanted dogs. But that, of course, comes with the need for rescuing and rehabilitation, and then necessarily rehoming, because, well, whilst they do have 150 dogs currently, that is a silly number of dogs to have. And so they need to find homes for as many of those dogs as possible. And what about our dogs, our Street Hearts dogs, or our Street Hearts sweethearts, as sometimes we call them? So a little bit about them. They can be puppies who were born on the streets or in gardens, who Street Hearts have then been told about. They've gone to collect them, hopefully with the mother. Sometimes we can't always catch the mother at the same time, but that's quite often a way that we get. I know a lot of the April trip are puppies, and they will be a combination of puppies that were born on the streets at Street Hearts, if sometimes we get a very pregnant mother in, or by owned dogs whose owners don't want to keep the puppies, obviously. So they are sometimes adult dogs who have been previously owned and maybe aren't being cared for correctly, or whose owners have died, or the circumstances have changed. So they will have previously known that kind of human bond and contact, or dogs who have spent some time on the streets, whether they have been abandoned or whether they've always grown up there. So who our Street Hearts dogs are not generally abuse cases. Occasionally we'll get ones who dogs who maybe have been kept on a chain, and therefore they've got some sort of injuries, things like that. Maybe they've been hit by vehicles, but they are generally, in the most part, not really on the receiving end of any kind of abuse from humans. It's really important that you know that, because our dogs aren't coming from a place of really negative experiences from humans. It's mostly ignoring, neglect, or a bit of chasing away if they've been on the streets, but very, very rarely do we find any cases of actual kind of abuse, which is obviously a really great thing, but also really good for you to know that you haven't got a dog that's probably traumatized by something specific. They are not aggressive. We do not rehome aggressive dogs. You might get some defensive, nervous barking, but we would never rehome a dog that we would class as genuinely aggressive. And they are not naturally nervous. You may see nervousness in your dogs. This is generally through lack of experience of what they're now seeing: streets, cars, parks, dogs they've not met, being in a home. If you're seeing nervousness, you know, I mean, TVs, washing machines, hoovers, all that sort of stuff, that's inexperience in the most part. It's not that they naturally have a nervous dog. We quite often find that we've got very, very cocky, happy, jumpy around, you know, really bold, bolshy dogs in the shelter, who then, once they've gone into a home, are suddenly displaying a lot of nervous tendencies, and that won't be their natural self. That will be a response to a lot of overwhelming new things. So they are inexperienced in the most part and not nervous. It's really good for you to know that as well, so that you don't sort of class your dog as a nervous dog and go, oh, they're a nervous dog, I've got a nervous dog, and identify with that, because you might be limiting your dog when you do that. So what do our dogs already know? Our dogs know how to walk on slip leads. I'm going to talk later about why we use slip leads and why they can be fantastic tools. Our dogs know how to sit for treats. If you do follow our social media, you'll know that our volunteers and our staff there have got really, really hot recently on getting our puppies to sit for treats. And this is a really great way for you to bond with your dogs and show that, and they can show you their fancy trick that they've learnt. And if it works with you and they get treats from you, that's going to be a really great way for you to know that, for them to know that you're a good human. Our dogs do know that humans can be trusted. They don't necessarily know that every single human they meet can be trusted. They sometimes take a little bit of time to figure that out, just because, like I say, they're inexperienced. Their world is smaller and they see the same people over and over. We don't have a huge amount of coming and going with new people at the shelter. So that will be something that's new to them, but they do know that humans can be trusted. Our dogs, on the whole, get on with other dogs. If you've, again, seen the social media pages, we do large pack walks. Our dogs are usually very dog literate, so they are very good at dog body language and interaction. So dogs can really, really help make our new rescues feel comfortable. Other dogs, if you've got friends with other dogs, they will communicate with them very, very well. And you will be informed of any behavioural quirks that are specific to your dog, if there are any. So how do our dogs get to the UK? You may or may not have seen this, but I would love you to watch this little video, and I will have a little drink of tea. This is what we did in January on the journey home. So I'm going to give you 4 minutes to watch that. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, that was me and Anthony bringing some dogs home with some extra footage from other trips as well. So yeah, you can see that it's not a traumatic journey, or we make it as fun and as comfortable as possible for the dogs. So again, it's important that you don't go, oh, they've been traumatized from a massive journey across Europe. You know, we try our very, very best to make it not be that. They will probably be very tired at the end. Both Anthony and I are always exhausted. So there will probably be a need for a lot of sleep, but I wouldn't say that they're going to be traumatized by vehicles. So don't sort of go, oh, we'll avoid vehicles for a couple of weeks. They can bounce back from that pretty well. And you will also see footage of them walking very nicely on slip leads. So you'll know that they are capable of doing it. And that they've been able to do it next to traffic during the journey. They will have had their friends with them there and the people that they trust, which will have made it easier, but you know that that they're capable of doing it, and that we make sure that they do it on the journey as well, because it's really, really handy. It's really helpful for them. So when we hand them over to you, what safety equipment do you need? We ask that you bring with you, and you'll have been told about this, and I know I've actually received orders to my shop from quite a few of you for slip leads. Some of those are still in the process of being made. If you're awaiting yours, it will be with you. So a slide or slip lead, this is compulsory. We will not hand over the dog unless you have one. The reason being that it is the only tool that is inescapable. The handover and the first few days are the time where flight or escape is at the highest risk, and when retrieval of that dog is the hardest as well, because they haven't made a bond with you guys yet, and they are completely unknown surroundings. So the risk is very high for recovery. That it's very difficult to find a dog, and often handovers happen at motorway service stations as well. So we just cannot take any risks on that, because the things that could go wrong are just not worth thinking about. We just don't want them to happen. We will not hand over a dog unless there is a slip lead present. You can also buy a long lead, and this is for later when you're walking, for freedom and safety, so that they can have a little bit of distance from you and exploring, but you are still attached to them, and if it does drop, you have a chance of catching them, of being able to get within 10 meters of them and holding on to it. You will need a collar with an ID tag. That's a UK legal requirement. We recommend a martingale collar. We'll explain a little bit about what those are later, but it operates in a very similar way. It's a very safe mechanism. Greyhounds quite often use them because their skulls and their necks are very similar length, similar circumference. You will likely need a crate in the home. Most of our dogs are used to being in crates, and they like crates. It will be useful to have one in the car as well. If you can't do that, then you will need a harness and a car seat belt clip. I'm sure Laura will have made that make sense earlier. If you do want to use a harness, and harnesses do have their place, certainly for later long line work, we recommend perfect fit or harnesses with 3 fit points. So that means it goes around the back legs and around the middle, and then around sort of lower down around the real waist. It's just 3 fit points to make sure that we're not going to get any backing out. No harness is inescapable. You also could invest in a GPS tracker. We're currently trying to get a little bit of a deal, I think, with Tractive for Street Hearts Adopters. So that might be something you could hold out for. But yes, we have found in the past that GPS trackers can come into their own at that. But I've never had one, but I can definitely see the merit in them. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about the slip lead, because I know quite often people have hesitations about using slip leads. They do have a little bit of a bad rap, and that's often because they've been misused. They've also often been misrepresented. So the ones that you'll be buying from me, if you buy one from me, have a stopper buckle, as you can see here. That's an all-important piece that quite often ones on the market don't have. And hopefully this will be what will give you peace of mind and will make this a very, very useful tool. So what this does is you fix this bit at the point at which the loop, when it's closed and meets here, is exactly the circumference around the base of the dog's skull. So it cannot move past the skull. This is what makes it inescapable. It has to be fitted so that it's nice and tight around the base of the skull, so it cannot move forward. This is what greyhounds have on their martingale collars, because their necks are basically the same width as their skulls. And so to have any kind of normal collar, it would have to be very, very tight in order for it not to be slippable. So we don't want to have our dogs wearing very, very tight collars that can't be slipped out of all of the time. So we use the slip lead. So this means that when the lead is under tension, if the dog is running away, pulling, or doing anything, moving away from you, it constricts to a point where it cannot be slipped out of. Even if the dog panics and moves backwards, it can't pop over the head. A collar that's a good comfort fit will do that. A harness that's at a good comfort fit will do that. A slip lead that is correctly fitted will not do that. The all important bit here is, or another important bit, is that this stopper tab does not go all the way here to close the loop so that it is always tight. It stays at a few inches distance, so that when the dog is not pulling and is not leaning into the lead and there isn't any tension created by you or the dog, because we can create tension by pulling too tightly, it relaxes, and then it's at a very, very comfortable circumference around your dog's neck that won't be causing any stress. An additional thing I'd like to say is that when a dog pulls into a normal collar, all of the weight will be going around the first 3 or 4 inches of webbing, because the lead will probably be pulling the collar away from the neck at the back. When you have a slip lead, all the weight will be distributed equally around the entire lead, because it will be constricting to around the exact circumference of the dog's neck. So you'll be distributing all of that weight throughout the entire muscle structure around the back of the neck as well. So a normal collar will pull this way and a slip lead will constrict that way. And that is actually safer for your dog's windpipe. So correctly fitting is really important. You will be helped to do that on your when you receive your dog. The buckle will be adjusted by Anthony or whoever else is dropping off your dog. But hopefully I've made that make a little bit of sense, and you understand that it's not sort of a cruel tool that we're using just because we have to. It's a tool that actually we like to use because we can really see the benefits. Also, all of our dogs are trained to use them and to use them loose, so that when they're walking, there is no tension on the lead and it is not constricting. You as a handler will have to make sure that you're not adding any tension as well. Has that allayed any fears that anybody might have had about the use of the slip lead? Please unmute if you did have any questions. I mean, if you do have questions, please do pop them in the chat and ask them at the end. But I'm hoping that you'll realize that we like to use this tool because of its safety, but also because it is incredibly, it can actually be very useful for the dog, and all of our dogs are comfortable using them. Some of our dogs don't like harnesses, that can be quite a restrictive feeling, and that might be something that you have to work on in order to get them used to, whereas the slip lead is something that they know. So the long line, as I said before, this can start giving you freedom to work with your dog and practice recall and start giving them a little bit of experience of moving away from you and coming back to you and being a little bit more like a normal dog, but you've still got that safety, because our dogs can be spooked. Like I said, they're inexperienced. They hear a car backfire, or you know, something happens, a branch falls from a tree. It might just be enough to send them to ground, to make them go, oh, I need to run away. And if they're not familiar with their surroundings yet, they won't know where home is. So it's just a real safety bonus there. And so this is an illustration of a martingale collar. And you can see it actually works in exactly the same way as the slip lead. And these are available on the market with no welfare issues at all. Lots of greyhound owners like them. So, but it has exactly the same mechanism in the sense that it tightens to a certain point. You can see if that is attached to a lead, if this D-ring is attached to a lead, you pull that, the collar will constrict around to a certain point and no further. Just like the slip lead, it constricts to the right point so that the collar can't be slipped out of, and then it can be released so that it is comfortable and there's no tension, there's no discomfort around the neck. So that's what we recommend these as well as collars. If you'd like to start moving to a collar, a martingale collar with a normal lead will work in a very similar way to the slip lead. So we would highly recommend those as options. So coming home with you, the ride home and the first few days, going to whiz through these. In the car, ideally you want them in a crate. It could be hard or soft, but ideally you could then carry them into the house. If you've got a very nervous dog, or if you're a little bit nervous, carrying them in will just simplify things. Or if you don't have a crate, they must be in a harness. That again is a legal requirement and also a safety thing, with a car seatbelt clip. We then ask that you always have the slip lead on and you always have your hand through it. Like I say, these first few days, we just take no risks and we just make sure that we've always got hold of our dog. I also recommend lots of towels down in case of any sickness. Please ensure that you have your hand securely through the slip lead before you open any doors. Some dogs like to bolt, some dogs don't. You don't know what you've got yet. And different circumstances will cause different responses from dogs as well. So we're just covering our bases. Please don't take any risks. You can consider carrying your dog into the house, either just holding them if they're small enough, or in the crate, especially if you have lots of stairs or complicated entranceways, if you're in an apartment building or something like that. Just don't try and navigate your way through that with a dog that's a little bit nervous of a new environment. We'll work on that slowly. So consider just carrying inside so you can get them into your home with you. We recommend keep them confined to a few rooms at first, rather than sort of letting them have free reign over the entire place. That can be a bit overwhelming. Consider just dropping the lead but leaving it on them and allowing it to trail around with them for the first few hours. This can help you get them out if they were to sort of bury themselves under any tables or anything, any sofas. It enables you to just coax them out nice and gently without having to sort of manhandle them, because they can have a little bit of a bolt hole response. Sometimes they find somewhere, do you know what, this is safe, I think I'm going to just watch the world from here because it's all very new. Quite a normal response, but not what we'd rather get them to their safe place that we have already set up. And so again, in the garden, please leave the lead on. This is where a long lead might be useful, or just giving them a little bit more distance from you so that they can feel comfortable enough to pee or anything like that. So either keep the lead on and have it trailing, or use a long lead, or just walk around with them. Just at first while they're getting their bearings. So in the home, that safe space I was talking about, ideally is a crate. A lot of our dogs are used to being in crates, so this will be really simple for them to adjust to. You don't have to use a crate. You could sort of make a space in your house, sort of in between the sofa and something, but a crate is purpose-built and very, very useful. And it's nice and secure as well. You can use a blanket over the top to make it more den-like. All of our dogs sleep in kennels and darkened spaces, so they'll be used to that kind of thing, and that they will feel safe in there. Allow free access to it, put lots of treats and toys in there so they can discover them. We recommend that you place it in a quiet but communal space. You don't want to be putting them at the other end of the house or in a utility room where they're not necessarily going to see the comings and goings of the household and be part of everything. Much better for them to be maybe in the living room or in the kitchen, if the kitchen's a big hub of activity and where a lot of people congregate. So have them be a part of it, but don't have them in maybe a main thoroughfare or a really sort of loud and busy place. Yeah, be careful of the bolt hole response. I sort of referenced that earlier, where they might just sort of go, oh, I found the first place that looks like it might be secure, I'm going to tuck myself away in there. You don't want the crate to be a bolt hole place. You want it to be a relaxing place that they choose to go to, they can come in and out of, but they're quite relaxed about it and they're happy to come out of it as well. If you do think you're experiencing bolt hole response, please get in touch with Laura or myself, or Emma, and we can sort of give you some advice on what to do about that. You can use puppy music, so Spotify and Netflix and YouTube have playlists for calming puppy music, and it can sometimes just mean that if maybe you've got roadworks or you've got noisy neighbours or you've just got noises that are maybe you can see that your dog is going, what is that, what is that? You can just take the edge off it by playing something classical music or nature sounds in the room itself. Adaptable plugins can be very useful for puppies when settling. If you think that your dog's having a tougher time, then it might be something to get. It's just a hormonal, it's a diffuser that creates a sort of a hormone scent that I think is something to do with the hormone that mother dogs give off, so should create a feeling of sort of security. There have been studies, we use them sometimes it's difficult to judge the efficacy of them, but some people really find that they work. So overnight, being in an enclosed crate. So a crate can be a safe space as well as it being a secure space. Closing the door does not turn it into a prison. Closing the door turns it into a safe space for your furniture and your carpet and for your dog. So please don't and ah about that. They've been closed in during the journey. They know about it. They know it opens again. None of our dogs have none of the dogs on this trip have had any issues with being sort of shut in spaces and then left. That it's not something that you need to worry about, and it's a really healthy thing for dogs to be able to cope with. If they go to the vet or anything like that, they will be closed in a crate, so they need to be able to do that and happily do that. They can already, so please keep it up, because it will benefit them no end. You can consider sleeping in the same room as them or next to them for the first few nights to reassure and comfort them. For some of these dogs, this will be the first time away from anything, a dog or a person or anything like that. So just as you would with a normal puppy, you wouldn't necessarily want to leave them to fend for themselves entirely. That could be quite scary and difficult for them. So we're really happy for you to spend the first few nights in the same room as them, so that you can reassure them and comfort them and just give them the gift of your presence there. Some dogs and most puppies will need to be taken out to pee once or twice in the night, so please pay attention to any snuffling or whining and discomfort if they suddenly sort of wake themselves up. You are better off taking them outside for a wee rather than sort of resorting to puppy pads at this point. But accidents overnight are not unusual. And in the first few days, we recommend using towels as bedding until they've figured things out. So that might just be a result of not knowing how to alert humans to it, because obviously we don't, apart from the dogs that sleep in the house, the ones that are outside in crates, they'll just either take themselves out of their kennels and poo in the dirt, which, fine, or some of them will just it's unusual that they will soil their bedding, but obviously if they haven't got a place to go outside straight from their bedding, then they will. They may have to. So they'll figure things out eventually, especially if you follow these toilet training tips. So all of our dogs are used to toileting outside. So they do it all day because they're outside all day, pretty much. So you can keep going with this. I wouldn't recommend that you try and transition to puppy pads and then transition to outside. It's just an extra step that is unnecessary. So you would follow the normal toilet training methods, which are taking puppies outside every hour or so, and on waking, and 10 minutes after food. Already big drinks. Older dogs want to be taken outside every 2 hours to begin with. A pattern will emerge, and then you will see, oh, actually they can wait 4 hours, or actually, they must go out 10 minutes after they've eaten, or whatever. You'll start to see, and hopefully they will also start to show you by going towards the back door. Observe your dog. Pay attention to sniffing, circling behaviors, or moving towards the exit point. Reward with treats and praise whenever they toilet outside. Tell them how brilliant they are. Oh my God, you did a poo. This will, for any parents, you're going to go back to being very excited about toileting, very excited about pooing and peeing. We'll be very happy when our our dogs do it, in the same way that we get excited when our 3-year-old doesn't do it in their nappy or whatever. So embrace that and ignore any accidents, and clean with enzymatic cleaner. That can be found at any pet store and probably a lot of supermarkets as well, and it just means that it clears up any residual scent that might encourage them to go back to the same spot. So it's important, if you're having problems with repeated accidents, that you're really, really cleaning those spots. So whizzing through, I'm going to whiz through this. If you have further questions, please do let us know. If you already have dogs, these are the sorts of things that you want to do to set yourself up for success. So try introducing on a neutral ground, so outdoors, ideally a secure dog field or something similar, where they can just sniff each other and play about a bit. You're going to want to use barriers, baby gates, things like that, to make separate spaces for the resident dog and the new dog, just so that they are not, so that they have separate spaces where they can feel comfortable. You want to supervise their time together, pay attention to both dogs' comfort levels. Please observe both dogs and see if they're both enjoying the level of play or sniffing or interaction. Do not expect them to play together or share a bed or toys instantly. That is the sort of thing that takes weeks to months. You know, you might get dogs who lie all over each other immediately, but that's the sort of thing that might take a few months to really embed. They need to get to know each other. That's absolutely normal and absolutely fine. And additionally, initial squabbles or growls are normal. You may not have heard that from your dog before, and it may be your dog that's growling. Please don't worry. There's always some sort of settling at first. It's about having a permanent new dog in the space. There's always just going to be a little bit of brushing up and working out what works between the two of them. This will resolve as the dogs become more familiar, but just make sure that they have their space to move away from each other when they've had a little bit too much time together, or they've had enough. Please advocate for both dogs. That means look after both dogs' interests. Feed them separately and safely. Make sure they get to know each other and can be calm in each other's presence. It may be that they're playing really high level all the time. That's not going to be sustainable. You're going to need to make sure that you can get them to both rest and be calm in each other's presence as well. So you would maybe put one on a lead and ask one to go in its bed, and then see if you can do lying down with treats and being calm together. Cats and small furries. Now, there are confident cats at Street Hearts. They will have seen and met them. Your cat might not be so confident. So make sure your cat has spaces your dog can never get to, where they feel safe. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a cat that leaves home for a bit. Manage interactions by keeping your dog on a lead indoors and making use of barriers and crates and things like that. I would probably not allow my dog off the lead in my cat's presence, or if there's even a risk of the cat coming into the room, for a couple of weeks whilst I get to know how they interact, because it is really important that you never allow chasing. If your dog thinks it's fun, it will just keep doing it. So you want to make sure that it never really experiences it. The only way you can do that is by holding onto the lead and making sure that you redirect to you rather than to, well-timed, the cat. And you want to use treats to reward for calmness when the cat is nearby, so that you're showing them that the cat is not a plaything or a chase thing. It's about, when you see the cat, you look at me instead, and you get treats for sitting, lying down, being calm, paying attention to me. Right. Ooh. You could also try a scent exchange. If everything's getting a little bit too exciting just by sight, why don't you take the cat's blanket and send it over to the dog, and take the dog's blanket and let the cat have a sniff? If people are really unsure and they're not allowed, they're not getting close enough to have a little sniff, then you might need to take the smell to them. Quickly, just with children, please just be sensible. Ask your children to be sensible if possible. Ask them to be quiet and calm when meeting your dog. Lots of excitement, lots of flapping can be scary to the dog or overexciting, and the dog may jump up or mouth. You can use treats and simple activities to keep interactions short and sweet and very positive. So if your dog is really good at showing off their sit, see if you can get your child to reward for that. If your dog is unsure or nervous, make sure that you get your children involved nice and calmly and sensibly with food times, with treats, with throwing toys, moments when your dog's happy and relaxed, so that they begin to associate the child with those good things. And you can use toys with ropes to keep a lot of distance between the mouths and the hands, basically. You know, the accidental mouthing can happen all the time, especially with younger dogs. And focus on teaching your dog a really nice clean drop that the child can ask for, so that the child isn't reaching for toys, you know, around the dog's mouth and things like that. So just put some nice measures in place. Bringing over family and friends. So some dogs, well, this will apply to you as well. Some dogs can be more reserved or shy around men. Now, this is just natural. I've seen it in breed dogs as well. It is a response to higher levels of testosterone. So, and nothing else. So please do not take it personally. I've got a foster dog with me at the moment, and she is far more scared of my partner, my male partner, than she is of me. And initially that was very upsetting for him, because he thought, you know, well, I haven't done anything. It's not my fault. Why don't you want to spend time with me? So it happens. It happens quite a lot, but it is completely reversible or overcomable, and their confidence will grow quickly if you do things in the right order. So the human that the dog trusts, so in this situation that's me, can help build trust with other people. So we progress step by step, integrating the scary person into giving treats, praise alongside the person who they trust. So my foster dog likes snuggling up with me on the sofa, so then I have my partner sit next to me, and then my foster dog on the other side, and then we did that for a few nights. She's very relaxed and happy. And then a couple nights ago we swapped places, so that my partner was next to the dog, but I was also there. And then last night I sat on a different sofa and she sat with my partner. So we're just graduating in steps, so that she goes, oh, it's just the same but a little bit different, and now she's getting much happier with him. So you can also have the scary human associated with meal times and good things. So I've been asking my partner to give Willow lots of treats whenever he comes into the room. And I've also asked him to be conscious of not moving too quickly, not making too much noise, not towering over the dog, so making yourself a bit smaller. Men tend to be a bit larger as well. So that, coupled with testosterone, can just mean that dogs are a little bit more cautious. It will have been an instinctive response that will have made some evolutionary sense back in the day. Dogs with higher testosterone might have been a risk to other dogs or puppies. So they are naturally more cautious. It has nothing to do with you. So you might just have to work out a little bit harder, but it will pay dividends. So keep going. When you have family and friends over, please do this. Don't sort of hide your dog away from any encounters with other people. Start as you mean to go on. If you have lots of people over, let's get going with it in the first couple of days. That's fine, but just keep the numbers low. So if you normally have 6 people over for games night, maybe just start with a couple, and keep those visits a bit shorter. Ask your visitors to ignore your dog, to again move just smoothly and calmly and be quiet at first. They can throw or offer treats. Likelihood is your dog might be curious and come in for a sniff. Best to just be calm and allow that to happen. But if they are interacting and they are getting a little bit more excited, see if they can show off their sit and see if they can be rewarded for that by this new person. Great way for them to go, oh, it's one of those humans. They know how to give treats when I sit. We've got this immediate kind of connection there. So if your dog consents to stroking, please avoid reaching down right on top of the head like this, coming right down on there. We want to do chin scratches and the side of the neck here, much preferred by dogs. Like, it's not just rescue dogs, but quite a lot of dogs don't like that coming right down on top. You can do sort of side of the head if it's coming from the front, but that straight down stuff, dogs really don't like it. Additionally, you can keep your own energy happy and relaxed. Try not to micromanage or worry too much. Embrace the new person coming in. Your dog will hopefully just follow your lead on that. You can also take the lead physically and figuratively to interrupt any guarding or barking. If your dog does immediately go, oh, I'm scared, I'm going to bark, you need to go, come on then, this way. Redirect them, bring them away with the lead or with your voice, take them away from that thing that they think they need to guard against, pay some attention to you, go back to those simple things. Sit, look at me, here's some treats. Yes, very good. So making sure that you're saying, no, we don't need that behavior. In fact, come over here. I'm allowing that person to come in, see how I'm relaxed about it, and I'm taking control. It's not your job to worry about it or to defend us. So just make sure that you cut that behavior off immediately if you do see it. Some dogs won't do it at all. Some dogs will develop it. This happens again in breed dogs. It's nothing to do with being a rescue. So the best ways to bond and gain trust. Always allow your dog to come to you. So avoid chasing or moving towards them. This can just create a little bit of running away. So if you're giving treats or stroking them, you can ask them to come to you, or you can approach very, very slowly, but try not to have them feel like they're trapped and you're coming towards them. A long line will help you guide them in and call them into you if you're outside. You can use, you should use treats and a marker word. So a marker word, you can use it, it's used like a clicker if you've heard of clicker training, but essentially we use yes, which you might have seen on any of social media videos. Yes means we like what you're doing and we're going to give you a treat for it. So that's how we do our lead training in Bulgaria. We little tug on the lead, they move towards us, yes, and we give a treat. So yes is our marker word, and that's one that they know already. So you can use that to help train all of those little simple tricks. Use consent tests when stroking. I will show you a video about that. And avoid hugging, restraining, putting your face really close to your dog. I mean, eventually your dog will probably really enjoy that, but just initially whilst they're getting to know you, avoid these. Dogs quite often find them intense and intimidating. So gentle encouragement and using their food, their daily food allowance, to reward and shape interactions is the best thing. So my foster dog, who's a little bit nervous or very nervous, we do her breakfast in the garden, hand feeding. We've got some noises from trucks on the road. Every time a noise happens, I'll say yes, and I'll give her a treat. I'm hoping to just gently shape and encourage positive associations with that kind of thing for her. So I'm using her breakfast every single morning. It means that I definitely get the training done, and it means that she's hungry and she's getting her daily food reward for just a natural behavior that I want her to continue. So a consent test is basically 3 to 5 seconds of stroking and touching, and then taking your hands away. If the dog walks away, doesn't engage, you can just maybe stop stroking for a bit. If the dog moves towards you, looks at you, or says, oh, actually, that was really nice, you probably stroke again. So just make sure that you're always checking in with your dog, and you're always just sort of going, oh, I'm enjoying this. You look like you're enjoying this. Shall I just, let me check that I'm right? Because stroking should be mutually beneficial. We often stroke for ourselves, really lovely, it lowers your blood pressure, it's a great thing, but just make sure that your dog is a willing participant and really actually genuinely enjoying it. The more respectful you are of this, the more they will come to enjoy it. If you enforce it too much, they're going to start going, oh, well, I have to put up with this whether I like it or not, and that will prevent them from actually genuinely enjoying it. And this is obviously a really great way for kids to practice thinking about your dog's feelings. Can we check in with our dog? Oh, they want more love. Oh, they definitely enjoy it. It's a great way to just reflect on the dog's feelings and what they're thinking. So there's a nice little example on the first video on the playlist. That's Mowgli enjoying contact with our shelter manager, Lauren. He's now completely loving life and very affectionate, but this was about a week into being at the shelter. So you can go away and play that now. It's just a quick one, so just come straight back. Okay, great. So hopefully that's a nice little example of, that was the first time that Mowgli was actually getting touched by our shelter staff, having come into the shelter. He was quite nervous to begin with. If you've seen him on our social media, he's now absolutely ready for a home and really enjoying human contact. But initially he was very nervous, and so you saw that Lauren was sort of giving him a couple of options on the chin, nice and gentle, and then he very clearly said, oh yes, actually I like that, and he moved towards her. So it's really clear for her to see, I'm not stressing him with this contact, and he's actually enjoying it, but she was giving him breaks. So that's a lovely example. A quick little note on separation anxiety. I know we've been going for a while. Thank you so much for bearing with me. Most of our dogs don't have it. They spend quite a lot of time without human contact, but they do have other dogs around them. Like I say, they're used to having large chunks of time without humans. But you can create separation anxiety, and you can create it if you spend all day, every day with them for the first week. Then they'll go, okay, this is what is normal, and I've come to like it, and turns out I love this human, and this human's given me more attention than I've ever got from any other human, and they are my life and I love them. And oh no, they've gone to the shops, what shall I do? So to avoid this, build up time in the crate, ideally, because it's nice and safe. When you are both in the room, so they don't have contact with you, but they're safe in the crate. And then you can leave the room as well. You can go in and out, you can go out for longer, just play with it, just build time. But if they're in the crate, it means they don't have access to you, and you can be in the room, out of the house, kind of doesn't really matter. And it shouldn't really matter to them, because their world is the crate at that point. Should probably be around nap time anyway. So ideally give them alone time when they are tired, they're likely to sleep. You can use a food-filled toy or a chew to keep them occupied. And we recommend that you leave them on their own for periods of up to 1 hour a day initially. That can be stretched as they get older and more comfortable with it. But please do start doing this to avoid any problems further down the line. Walkies. Now, our dogs love walks. Our adult dogs get at least an hour every day. The puppies are now going out on pack walks to play with each other and to get them to stretch their legs. So walking is a really big part of their day. But keep them short for the first few days. There will be a lot that's new, and they won't have their normal puppy pals all around them. So quieter areas near you and quieter times of the day are preferred. Secure fields, obviously ideal, because you know who's coming in and out, ideally no one, and you're not going to lose them. You would be highly recommended to walk with a confident and calm dog initially to help give them that confidence. Like I say, they get confidence from each other. And so if you're going into a household, if your rescue's coming into a household without other dogs, if you have friends with other dogs, this can be a real shortcut to getting your dogs really happy and confident walking in your area. Lots will be new. It is your job to guide and lead them through the walk and reassure them that each new thing is not that scary. You can use a long line in open areas, but please use it with a martingale collar. Like I said, that one is the only inescapable thing, or a harness if you're worried about them getting very fast and jolting through the net. Obviously we don't recommend that. If they are bolting around, you want to be sending that energy through the harness. But to make it inescapable, you may have to connect the harness to a martingale, so that if for some reason the harness were to be backed out of, it would stop at the martingale, which is the last point. Oh look, you can just see Willow, my foster dog, behind my shoulder there, looking like a little angel on my shoulder. Great. So I hope that makes sense. Never allow children to hold the only lead until the dog is fully settled with you. We did have a bit of a scare where we lost a dog for 12 hours because they were all very happy. The dog was really confident and calm. The child wanted to hold the lead. A car boot slammed in the car park and the dog bolted. They didn't go very far, but the lead was dropped because that happens. Accidents happen, but please don't give children the responsibility of holding on to the only dog lead. Engage. You can encourage them to be part of it. You could pop another lead on, a harness or something else, and have them hold that so that they feel part of the walk. That's absolutely fine, but not the only lead. And please be aware of prey drive. We don't have squirrels in Bulgaria. It kind of blows a lot of dogs' minds when they finally see them in the UK. Emma from Street Hearts very nearly lost my dog Scout under a bus in London because when I returned with Scout from cycling her across Europe, I didn't mention that, but that's how I got my dog to the UK, we cycled back over 6 weeks in a trailer behind my bike, got to London, I wanted to sleep, Emma said she'd take the dog to the park, Scout saw a squirrel and she kept on running. So yeah, squirrels are a big thing. And just be aware of them. So I am putting together currently a video on the best ways to handle your long lines. So watch this space. I will add it to the playlist and you will be emailed that because there are good ways and there are bad ways, and there are ways that are more likely to have you lose your shoulders, and the ways that are less likely for you to incur any damage to your arms or your dog's neck or chest. So I've put together a little video demonstrating that for you. So this may not happen, but it may happen, and we want to just give you the tools if it does. So if your dog is panicking, they've been startled by something or someone, something's happened and they've decided they need to pull away from you, this is the point at which a harness can be easily backed out of. They might start panicking and running away from you because you're new to them too. So you can get dogs that suddenly just want to leave. So please do not fight them or try to pull them towards you. The instinct can be to just be like, no, 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 come back, come back, come back. By adding lots of tension, we allow things to slip and we create a lot more panic as well. So the instinct is to pull them back towards you for safety. It's not going to help. Please just relax that tension, drop down, make yourself less scary, and slowly go towards them along the lead without trying to pull them towards you. Okay? Make sure that you aren't adding more tension by pulling. You need to get them to stop. So that might be by not allowing them to move further away, by holding the lead tense, but not by pulling. So there's a difference between just keeping them in one place by holding it steady and like trying to pull them back to you. There's a lot more strength going into that. So just getting them to stop by not letting them move further away, and which might mean giving the lead a little bit so that they don't pull too hard or too erratically. It may be better to allow them to get to a safe space, a wall or a tree or a bush or something, so that they can stop themselves. And then you've got to release all the tension on the lead. So make sure that there's no more straight tension on that lead, that it's a bit relaxed. Please get closer to them slowly. Like I said, drop down, be smaller. Because right now they're just panicking with everything, okay? So it's not that they're scared of you, they're just scared of everything and they're in a bit of a tiz. It happens. It may never happen to you, but if it does, these are the things that you need to do. You're gonna get close to them, you're gonna offer comfort, treats, relax, go, hey, it's me. They'll go, oh God, yeah, it's you, cool. I don't know what I was scared by, but I was super scared. I'm glad you're here. And then once you're both a bit more relaxed, you can either take a different route away from that thing, or just create distance between you and that thing. Or the thing might have been a leaf, or it might have been a car, or it might have been something that's gone now, or that kind of just isn't a problem and they can go past it. So you can't create more distance, but you can just reassure them, move confidently and go, woof, that was a bit silly. Here's some treats. Are we feeling good? Yes, okay, and let's move. All right, so the most important thing is to not add more tension, don't fight them, drop down, allow them a little bit more lead and a little bit more movement until they can calm down and stop, and then go towards them and remind them that you're there to help them. So on that note, I want you to be a leader and a guide and help them through your world. Okay, you know this world better than them. You know what is a threat and what isn't. You need to give them feedback on the things that they're hearing and seeing. So be confident, reassuring, and practical. explore and demystify things together. I'll show you what I mean. And do not take on your dog's worries. Don't go, oh my God, my dog is scared of bins. Oh God, I can see a bin. I'm scared now because I'm scared about what my dog's going to feel about that bin. I've seen the bin, I'm scared. So don't be, that's the influence is going in the wrong direction there. Your dog is scared of the bin. You know it's a bin. So you go, I'm not scared of a bin. Hey, look, you can be on this side away from the bin, but I'm going to confidently walk past the bin because I know it's just a bin. Okay, and that's the direction of influence we want this to go. All right. My foster dog Willow is scared of quite a few things. So whenever she hears a new noise, I'm going to be going, that's okay. That's, you know, that's the postman, or that's whatever it is. That's the washing machine. Oh, that's the printer. She was very scared by the printer earlier, but she's heard it 4 times now. And when it first happened, I was very relaxed and I said, that's okay. It's the printer. Here's a treat. We moved through it. Now she hears the printer. She's not worried. So be practical about it. Don't go, oh, we won't do the printer when she's in the room. Or, you know, we're not going to avoid those things that that aren't a problem. Okay, so now have a look at me with Scout. This was the first month having Scout in the UK. She's 1 month in the UK. I'd known her obviously for the 6 weeks before that, so she trusted me quite well. But you can see that she's trying to get away from this thing. So have a look at that, what she's scared of in Greenwich Park, and how we deal with it. Great. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for watching that. So yeah, that was my street dog when she was a month in the UK, and you can see how she does want to flee at certain points, but by sort of staying still, I prevent her from doing the running away option, calm her down, and then relax the lead and encourage her to come towards the tree and demystify that object, okay, and explore that. So that's what I mean about being a leader and a guide. I know that is not a scary thing. It's not going to hurt her. I know that, you know, fine, if it was a you know, a flapping sign that might be a bit more scary, I might have taken a bit more distance. I wouldn't have the control that I had over that, you know, a post box, something like that. You know, this is something we can go and have a look at. That's absolutely fine. So please take the opportunity to show your dog and guide your dog through the world. That is your gift to this street dog. So that same scared dog has come on many adventures with me. So you can see that she's not naturally a nervous dog, but maybe what you saw just then was quite nervous behavior. But Scout's been snowboarding with me. She happily travels the escalators with me. She's paddleboarded, she's canoed. She's been to more countries than some people, which is probably a bit rude, really. She is not naturally a nervous dog. She was inexperienced and she was nervous. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of confidence and encouragement if you are seeing those behaviors from your new rescue. So quickly, just some bonding activities. The third video on that playlist is how to play Come and Go with a timid puppy. I'm not going to ask you to play it now, but you can play it afterwards. You'll have it queued up in your playlist. And just doing all of those simple tricks can help boost confidence and bond with your dog. So come and go, do sit, you can teach them paw, things like that. So practice lead walking for you and for your dog, about keeping that tension nice and relaxed in the house and in the garden with lots and lots of tasty treats. You could tap into their prey or play drive by using a soft toy on a rope and letting them on it and pretend it's a squirrel. Encourage that, and then you can work on your drop behaviors as well. I'd love you to reward eye contact, and any time that they choose to interact with you, you really want to be going, oh hi, yes, brilliant, and giving treats and things like that. You can hide treats around the room and praise them when they find them, so let them snuffle, great activity for them. But also when they find them, you can go, yeah, very good, which connects you to the activity of finding. Okay, so you could just let them do it and not say anything, but by actively speaking to them and engaging with them, they're connecting you with that whole task and that success as well. You can consider hand feeding one or all meals in a day, as I've been doing with Willow, and use it as a moment to just, you could just reward for eye contact. Every time they look at you, they get a handful. Or you could do more complicated things like sitting, or if you've got some, you know, they don't like watching people go by the house, you could treat every time that happens, something like that. Do what you think will benefit both of you the best. And my big tip is just to observe your dogs. So if they back away from excited sounds, be quieter. Okay, some dogs really get really hyped up by that kind of silliness and giddiness, and for some dogs it's a little bit too much. So just match your dog. Each dog will respond differently. Allow yourself to learn from them and work to their strengths. And last of all, please ask. We will be on hand to answer questions after arrival. Laura will be there, Emma will be there, I could be there too. So main takeaways: be confident and guide your new family member through their new world and their new life. Trust does take time, and it has to be earned. You have to show them that you are going to help them through things. But don't worry if there isn't an immediate bond. It will come in time, and it will come tenfold, because it's been hard won and it will be worth so much. Please observe and learn about your dog. I said that before. Find the thing that makes them happy and excited and use it to your advantage. They love that tug toy, take it out on walks. You know, if they just go crazy for sausages all the time with you through those tricky periods, you know. And please have fun. You've got a dog so that you could have that bond, that fun, that connection, that love. You'll get those things. Please work for them too, but ask for help when you need it. You will have heard this before, but we are here to help and not to judge.